Our next speaker is Cole J. Dorman, presenting his talk entitled, Science Shouldn't Need to Be Profitable. I love that. I love that, yes. Cole is a Ph.D. student in space science from Bettendorf, Iowa. I made some puns about Bettendorf. I won't say them here, but an interesting fact about Cole is that he's been to the Arctic 3 times. Excuse me, okay, 3 times, all right. I've only been once, all right, must be nice. Please join me in welcoming Cole.
Can you think of a single person who doesn't use the internet? Probably not. Even the off-the-grid crowd is somehow all over social media. And so this might be hard to believe, but big companies like AT&T and IBM turned down involvement in the internet's creation. What might be even harder to believe is that this was a calculated decision on their end. Neither of them thought that groundwork science could be profitable. And that's because at the start, before the government lifeline, it really wasn't. The start of this story in the idea of interconnected online networks goes all the way back to the 1960s, deep in government research labs. Back then, big, ambitious research projects were top priority. To set the scene, technology had won World War II, the space race and Cold War were starting, knowledge really was power. And so there was a government worldwide race for increasingly better inventions. Now, connecting isolated room-sized computing machines was really helpful to a national cause. And it was actually the US's Advanced Research Projects Agency that conceived the first network of these connected machines. They had the idea, but they needed contractors to build it out. As you can see, this first network pitched to AT&T and IBM wasn't designed for commercial viability, but for research. And so they looked over the proposal and they said, no, that's never gonna work. IBM declined due to cost, and AT&T declined, believing the technology would never even work on their phone lines, both believing the research would be an inefficient use of their resources. So the US government, with far more money and long-term vision, had to turn to smaller research contractors to get the network built out. And so that's what they did. Eventually, by the 1980s, it was funding from the National Science Foundation that had established an internet backbone supporting hundreds of thousands of machines and users worldwide. Eventually, when companies did flood the web, the hard work had been done. The gap between research and utility had been crossed. Today, no one owns the internet, not the US government, not any one company. Groundwork science like this is a public good. It improves our societal needs, and no one's prevented from using it. It's also something only a government could have made. While by all means, the federal science system is not perfect, it's not constrained to quarterly demands, and it has more patience and resources to create groundbreaking innovations that eventually reshape everyday lives, no matter how unprofitable or inefficient businesses say they are. But it's these words, unprofitability and inefficiency, that are the cited reasons for immeasurable disruptions to federal science last year in 2025. These criticisms are the same ones from 1971. But what they miss is it's funding from government science that gets us Mars bases and cures for cancer and the next internet, whatever that looks like. Without federal science, innovations that would have been made in 25 years won't be made for 75 years or more. And so what does that mean for you? It means you lose out on the groundbreaking innovations reshaping lives. And now you have to trust the AT&Ts and IBMs of the world, ever so wise with what futures are worth investing in. But science shouldn't need to be profitable. because profit demands immediate returns, and our greatest innovations were overlooked when the return wasn't immediate. So next time you're scrolling and you see the argument, government science doesn't do anything for us, challenge that assumption, check your connection, and be thankful profit didn't prevent us from the internet.